Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam Stuti series. So today we are going to begin a new set of prayers by Bhishma Dev called the Bhishma Stuti. So we will begin with shloka number 32 of chapter 9, canto number 1. Sri Bhishma Uvacha
Sri Bhishma Uvacha
Iti matir upakalpita vitrishna
Iti matir upakalpita vitrishna
Bhagavati sattvata pungave vibhumni
Bhagavati Saswata Pungave Vibhumni
Svasukham upagate kvachit vihartum
Swasukam Upagate Kvachidvihartum
Prakritim upeyushi yadbhava pravaha.
Prakrutim Upeyushi Yadbhava Pravaha.
Okay, word for word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Bhishma Uvacha.
Sri Bhishma Uvacha
Sri Bhishma Deva said,
Sri Bhishma Devasya Deva said,
yeah, iti,
Iti,
thus,
Matihi,
thinking, feeling and willing,
thinking, feeling and willing,
upakalpita, invested, with trishna, freed from all sense desires, Bhagavati, unto the personality of Godhead, Sattvata Pungave, unto the leader of the devotees, Vibhumi, unto the great, Swasukham, self-satisfaction, Upagate, unto he who has attained it, Kvachit, sometimes, Vihartum, out of transcendental pleasure, Prakritim, in the material world, Upeyushi, to accept it, Yat Bhava, from whom the creation, Pravaha, is made and annihilated. Translation. Bhishma Deva said, let me now invest my thinking, feeling and willing which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties in the all-powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied. But sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world. Although from him, only the material world is created. Okay. So before we dive into the purport written by Srila Prabhupada, let's look at the context of the set of prayers. So we were covering Kunti Stuti up till now, and we covered the last shloka. Immediately after that, what happens is actually Yudhishthira Maharaj also begins to actually cry out to the Lord in desperation. So the Lord accepted the prayers of Kunti Maharani. And he said, okay, I'm getting ready to depart now. But just as he was getting ready to leave, he was stopped by Yudhishthira Maharaj, who was pleading to him because he was in a deeply distressed state. Although he had already been advised by Vyasadeva and Lord Krishna himself as to why all of these calamities befell upon the destruction of the Kuru dynasty, so to speak. Still, because Yudhishthira Maharaj was deeply overwhelmed, like a common man, he was deluded by affection. So that is what Sutta Goswami says. So at that time, Yudhishthira Maharaj tells the Lord, see, I'm a very sinful person and I am very ignorant. Anyway, I know I'm going to die, but since I've killed so many boys, so many brahmanas, so many well-wishers, friends, I've killed parents, brothers, even if I live for 1,000,000 years, I will not be saved from hellish conditions because I know what is waiting for me. And he says, there is no sin when the king kills for a good cause. But this particular rule is not applicable to me. And because of all of the killing that I have undertaken, he says it's not possible to counteract the killing of these men, even if I were to sacrifice animals. So because Yudhishthira was in such a despondent state of mind, even though he was already advised by Srila Vyasadeva as well as Lord Krishna as to not to be aggrieved about this particular situation, still Krishna knew that Yudhishthira Maharaj actually had to hear from the lips of his pure devotee, Bhishma Dev. So everybody understood immediately that Bhishma Dev, who was lying on a bed of arrows, was about to pass away. At that time, even though Krishna was prepared to go back to Hastinapur, he decided he will witness and be there personally as Bhishma Dev leaves his body. So all of the great sages, Vyasadeva, many rishis, great personalities, because they all knew that Bhishma Dev was getting ready to leave his body, they congregate around Bhishma Dev. And so the Lord and Arjuna also go there along with Yudhishthira Maharaj, etc. So Bhishma Dev was looking quite resplendent, laying on a bed of arrows. And everybody bowed down to him, including Lord Krishna. And not only that, it is said even many rishis from other planets came down to witness this transcendental pastime of Bhishma Dev addressing the Lord before he actually leaves his body. So there were many, many great sages like Kashyapa Muni, Angirasa Muni, even Shukadev Goswami was all there. So who is Bhishma Dev before we go to Prabhupada's pulpit? So the word Bhishma literally translates to one who is great at everything. So it is said that Bhishma Dev also possessed 6 opulences that the Lord has. And the name Bhishma itself invokes fear in the hearts of others. So everyone is afraid of Bhishma Dev. Now, in his previous life, he was one of the 8 Vasus. And in that previous life, he was known as Dhyo. Vashishta Muni visits the heavenly planets along with his Kamadhenu cow. And somehow or the other, this Dio's wife wanted to get that cow for herself. When Vashishta Muni understands this particular tendency of coveting another person's property or wealth, he cursed all of the 8 Vasus to be born as mortal human beings, and then they would lose their status of Vasu. However, when the Vasus understood the gravity of the curse, they begged and pleaded with Vashishta Muni for forgiveness. Therefore, Vashishta Muni agreed on one condition. He said, of the 8 Vasus, 7 of them will be liberated, which means as soon as they take birth, they will die and they will go back to their position as Vasus, except for one. Who is that? That is Dio. Why? Because Dio's wife had coveted the Kamadhenu cow. Therefore, Dio was cursed to take all of the negative effects of what his wife had aspired for. And therefore, he would live a very long life. So then you know what happens. Bhishma Dev was born to Shantanu Maharaj and Ganga Devi. Then you know Ganga Devi tells Shantanu Maharaj, whatever I do, you should not question. And so 7 children are born and immediately she kills all 7. So you may ask, okay, how is it possible to kill all 7 children? Because these 7 children, immediately after their birth, they are liberated through death and they go back to their original positions as Vasus. And then Shantanu Maharaj stops when the 8th one is born, which is Bhishma Dev. So he was actually named as Devavrata. He was actually supposed to be the king. Shantanu Maharaj also wanted him to be the king because he's a great personality. But then when he marries Satyavati, Satyavati's father extracts a promise from Shantanu that only her son should ascend the throne. Understanding the quandary that his father was in, it is at that time that Bhishma Dev actually takes that vow of Brahmacharya. So now we can read the verbet written by Srila Prabhupada. So here Bhishma Deva is addressing the Lord. Because Bhishma Deva was a statesman, the head of the Kuru dynasty, a great general, and a leader of Kshatriyas, his mind was strewn over so many subjects, and his thinking, feeling, and willing were engaged in different matters. Now, in order to achieve pure devotional service, he wanted to invest all powers of thinking, feeling, and willing entirely in the Supreme Being, Lord Krishna. He is described herein as the leader of the devotees and all-powerful. Although Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, he himself descends to earth to bestow upon his pure devotees the boon of devotional service. He descends sometimes as Lord Krishna, as he is, and sometimes as Lord Chaitanya. Both are leaders of pure devotees. Pure devotees of the Lord have no desire other than the service of the Lord, and therefore they are called Sattvata. The Lord is the chief amongst such Sattvatas. Bhishma Deva therefore had no other desires. Unless one is purified from all sorts of material desires, the Lord does not become one's leader. Desires cannot be wiped out, but they have only to be purified. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, shloka 10, by the Lord himself that he gives his instruction from within the heart of a pure devotee who is constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. Such instruction is given not for any material purpose, but only for going back home, back to Godhead. For the ordinary man who wants to lord it over material nature, The Lord only sanctions and becomes a witness of activities. But he never gives the non-devotee instructions for going back to Godhead. That is the difference in dealings by the Lord with different living beings, both the devotee and the non-devotee. He is the leader of all living beings. As the king of the state rules both the prisoners and the free citizens. But his dealings are different in terms of devotee and non-devotee. So Prabhupada is using a wonderful analogy here. In any given society, there are always a small percentage of population who tend to be engaged in criminal activities and for which they face punishment, sometimes in the form of fines, sometimes in the form of imprisonment, sometimes in the form of a death penalty also. But that doesn't mean the king is not their king. He's still the king. So as much as the king oversees not just the free citizens, but also those who have violated the laws, his dealings with them is different. So it should not be surprising that Krishna is the king of all the Jivatmas, but his dealings are different in terms of whether you are a devotee or a non-devotee. But he is equal. Anybody can access his mercy. Non-devotees, Prabhupada says, never care to take any instruction from the Lord, and therefore the Lord is silent in their case. Although he witnesses all their activities and awards them the necessary results, good or bad, the devotees are above this material goodness and badness. They are progressive on the path of transcendence, and therefore they have no desire for anything material. So hence you can see Bhishma Dev is also preparing himself. Okay, all my duties and responsibilities are done. For so many years, I was engaged in administrative activities. I was reading a nice little commentary on one of the websites. Just like Arjuna had this quandary between Kula Dharma and Kshatriya Dharma, every devotee also has the same quandary. I have so many duties and responsibilities to my family, but I also want to do devotional activities to Krishna, to please Krishna. So it's always a balancing act. How much you serve your family because that's your duty and responsibility, and how much time you actually set aside for your relationship with Krishna. So now Bhishma Dev is relieved. Okay, now I don't have any more duties and responsibilities. I can just focus on Krishna consciousness. And therefore he says, thinking, feeling, and willing, all is going to be dovetailed in the master of all the Jivatmas, Lord Krishna. The devotee also knows Sri Krishna as the original Narayana because Lord Sri Krishna, by his plenary portion, appears as the Karanodakashayi Vishnu, the original source of all material creation. So we all know the three Purusha avatars, Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So Karanodakashayi Vishnu is the source of all of the universes. The Lord also desires the association of his pure devotees, and for them only the Lord descends to the earth and enlivens them. So the Lord also wants to enjoy transcendental pastimes with his devotees who are there on this planet Earth. They have come to rescue the fallen souls, and the Lord comes to not just witness it, but also have wonderful transcendental pastimes with them. The Lord appears out of his own will. He is not forced by the conditions of material nature. He is therefore described here as Vibhu, or the Almighty, for he is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. Here, Bhishma Dev is saying, let me prepare myself. Previously, I was preoccupied with so many sevas, but I want to prepare myself on meditating on Lord Krishna. Now you see how beautifully Lord Krishna has arranged for all of this. He knows his pure devotee is going to leave his body, and he decides to give him his final darshan. And in addition, he decides to make sure that Yudhishthira's misgivings about the war and the consequences of the war are fully addressed by his pure devotee, Bhishma. Because Krishna has already tried. It has not worked. It has not had its effect on Yudhishthira Maharaj. So Bhishma Dev actually spends time convincing Yudhishthira, actually, all of this is just the plan of the Lord. He says it is just the Lord's time aspect that you're seeing unfold, and therefore you should not be disturbed. So as Bhishma Dev is preparing to leave his body, he begins to glorify the Lord for, I think, around 12 shlokas. So today's shloka, shloka number 32, where Bhishma Dev is beginning his glorification by identifying the position of the Lord in relation to his devotees.
If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification. If you'd like to join our classes every day, please check the details in the description section of this video. We look forward to serving you.